Hello and welcome to my kitchen. Strawberry season is upon us and we always like to make strawberry jam. One of the things that I've often wondered about though is how to successfully make jam with less sugar. You know, normally when you use Sure Gel or Pectin from the grocery store, you end up putting quite a large amount of sugar into your batch, up to 7 cups usually in most recipes. And I just thought there's got to be a way to do that with less sugar. Well, there is, and so tonight for the first time ever we're going to try this product. This is called Pamona's Universal Pectin. I've never tried it before, but it allows you to make jam with much less sugar and also other alternate sugars like agave or even honey. So we're going to try this tonight here with Pamona's Universal Pectin. So what comes in the package is 2 of these little packets. This is the pectin, and this is calcium water, and that is, according to the directions, these 2 in combination provide what you need to set up your jam. So a word about the strawberries. This is 4 cups of strawberries measured out, and we went to a pick-your-own operation and got 2 quarts of beautiful fresh strawberries. We proceeded to then wash them in lots of cold water, carefully picking over them and discarding any that looked like they were either really bruised or damaged. You always want really good fruit in your jam. We hulled them just using a regular strawberry huller, and then we crushed them in a pan with just a potato masher is what we typically use, and that works really well to kind of crush it into bits and release all of their fantastic juices. Finally, we poured it into a liquid measure, and the recipe calls for 4 cups. So again, this is 4 cups of crushed strawberries. So right now we're going to move on to the next step, which is to prepare the calcium water. Okay, I've got my little packet of calcium powder here, and I'm just going to cut this open. And I've also got a little jar here with a tight-fitting lid. And what it says to do here is to take 1/2 cup of water, which this is here, pour it into your jar, and then take a 1/2 teaspoon of this calcium powder and put it into the water. So just for the record, it looks to me like there's maybe a full teaspoon in here. So I'm going to try to just get a 1/2. Yep, I'm going to go with that. Okay, there's my 1/2 teaspoon. It's going into the water. And just shake it up. So I'm just going to shake that up. So the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of this. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of this in the recipe. So, but it does indicate that you can put that in the refrigerator and keep it for several months. So we're going to maybe use this in other recipes if this is successful. My lid wasn't tight enough, but oh well, that's okay. All right, so that's the first step. We've prepared the calcium water. Now we'll move on to measuring out the pectin and then cooking the berries. Okay, we're moving on to the sugar. It calls for, if you're using sugar, the recipe calls for between 3/4 cup and 2 cups. I mean, I like a sweet jam, but again, I'm trying to reduce the sugar, so I'm going to go with the full amount. I'm going to go with 2 cups. So I'm just going to measure out 2 cups of sugar, and I'm going to put it into this bowl here. We're not supposed to put it right into the fruit just yet. We're just going to put it into a bowl. Okay. There we go. There's 2 cups. Okay. And 2 tablespoons of pectin. Here's the pectin pouch. Got that open. Let's see what this stuff looks like. Wow, it's quite, kind of puffs out at you. Almost looks like it has a slight yellow tinge to it. what to call that. 1, 2. Looks like I've used about, looks like I would have enough for maybe, there's maybe 2 more tablespoons in there. Okay, then it says to thoroughly mix this dry stuff together. Let me just grab a little tiny whisk. Stir that in. It's looking pretty good. It's actually pretty easy to see your progress because that pectin powder is slightly, it's not shock white, you know, it's sort of off-white. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, the next step is to start cooking these berries. So I'm going to take the berries, 4 cups, putting it into the pan here that I'm going to use to cook them in, and here's where the calcium water comes into play. So we're going to take this calcium water. It calls for 2 tablespoons. Oh, this doesn't fit. It's always good if your measuring spoons fit your little bottles. Okay, here we go. 1, 2 tablespoons of the calcium water. And now I'm going to put that on the stove, and I'm going to bring the contents of this pan up to a full boil. All right, a real quick word here about the jars that I'm going to use. I'm going to use half-pint jars, and I have washed them in soapy water, and I've put them into a hot water canner just to keep them, just to keep them hot and keep them sterile. So they are just waiting to be pulled out and filled. And then I also washed the lids, and I have them in some hot water there, and I washed and dried the bands, and I have the bands waiting there. So we are going to hot water bath can them in this same canner when we're done. So that's jar preparation, so our jars are all ready to go to receive the jam. Okay, this is now at a full rolling boil, so I am going to go ahead and take my sugar and pectin mixture, and I'm going to pour it in. And it says just stir it as quickly as you can to dissolve it in. And the directions say to cook it for 1 to 2 more minutes and let it come back to a boil. So I'm going to get a kitchen timer ready, and I'm going to stir this as fast as I can, and start this thing, and try to get that back to a full rolling boil. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, so just a little bit of clarity. You cook it for 2 minutes, and when you cook it for 2 minutes and it looks like this, it has basically come back to a boil. So that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat, and we're going to can this right now. So I'm going to take this and put it right over here and get set up for canning. All right, we're ready to can this now. I've got help from my wife, but she's just going to remain off of camera here. It's always good to do this with 2 people. Just helps so much. So I'm going to ladle that to, oops, that's too much. So if it's too much, which can sometimes happen, you just get a spoon, take some of that out, not a big deal. But you want it to be like, you know, between 1/4 of an inch and 1/3 of an inch at the top. So I always ask my wife if she thinks it's good. She thinks it's good. So she will take it and put a top on it. She always wipes the rim to just make sure that it's nice and clean. Takes one of the lids out of the hot water and puts a band on it. Once that's done, I grab it and put it in the hot water bath. All right, so this made 5 of these. Just fine. I wasn't quite sure how many it would make, but it has made 5 half-pint jars. So we're going to space those out. We've got a good 1 to 2 inches of water above there. I'm going to bring this to a boil and process them for 10 minutes at a full boil. And when they're done, we'll take them out and set them out to cool. Okay, so we're all done. So we've had a chance to taste this, and it's good, but it's definitely different. It's definitely, you can taste the berries more. It almost tastes like a fruit roll-up, if you can picture that. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like a fruit leather or something. We also noticed that it's really very almost jello-like in its consistency. This is the last bit of stuff. Maybe the stuff in the jars will be a little bit different, but it got really dry and it got very thick very quickly as it cooled. And as is tradition, we like strawberry shortcake in our house. So this is a homemade biscuit, and I am just going to put a little dab of jam there and whipped cream. We are not afraid of here. And we're just going to put a little bit of that on and take a bite. Not bad. So, that's good. That's very good. So, in a little bit, we'll take the jars out of the hot water bath and we'll be done. We have been pretty successful in our first attempt to make low sugar strawberry jam.